Hello and welcome to the HGC, or Hardcore Gamers Club, your safe spot for all things gaming. For those of you who are not new to my channel, bear with me while I give introductions to the individuals that are. My name is Daniel. I'm an ex-military component level electronics tech. I used to repair all the flight navigation, weapon stability platforms, onboard computers for all of the helicopters in the Army. I also sidebarred in night vision equipment repair as well as the battery shops. I was supervisor over all three shops simultaneously during my stay. I started my business back in 2009 when my son got ripped off from the repairman at Play and Trade on a repair that should have been simple but yet wound up in the total and utter destruction, and I call it a murder, of my son's game system. And I found out that a vast majority of the repairmen, if not all of them at that time, was in fact following videos off of YouTube or buying repair guides online in order to offer services or repairs to their customers that were put together 100% from YouTube videos, and totally destroying kids' game systems with very shoddy work, fake tricks, all kind of stuff like that. Ever since then, I've been breaking warranty seals, videoing what's going on with their repairs, and over the years that has forced them to change their repair methods and learn how to actually repair. So that's been a good thing over the years. A lot of them are doing a lot better. Some of them that are coming in new, they're just jacking up kids' game systems. They're learning off the piggy banks of their customers in order to learn to repair, and the majority of the ones around here have actually learned their mistakes and are actually performing much better repair methods on the game systems. Now, I'm not just talking exclusively Xboxes, but unfortunately they learned off of the piggy banks of their customers in order to do so, and I've proven that time and time again. I do post up videos from time to time about general repairs that you can do at home that I feel comfortable that anybody can easily take care of. Everybody's been begging me for repair videos, so I'm going to put up a repair video start to finish of one of the most destroyed game systems I've gotten in, thanks to a YouTube video of a kid that actually had a repair through me, and after about a year or so he had an issue with the tray sticking, and following a YouTube video and not having any motor skills, I would say, to be able to properly fix this box, and the fact that he got frustrated and could not fix his game system because, let's face facts, when it comes to a drive repair, just because it says open tray does not mean it's automatically the laser. Okay? Anything that goes wrong in that drive can cause it to say open tray or unreadable disk. There's several issues that can cause the tray to eject and close randomly. There's other issues that can cause the tray to not eject. Okay? Fact of the matter is this kid changed a $5 repair that would have taken less than 2 minutes to fix into the destruction of his game system. Now, I helped him get a nice cheap new game system through my channel thanks to donations of not only some cash as well as parts and stuff like that. I got him a good game system put together and got it to him nice and cheap. I think he paid a total of $30 for a complete new game system. Matter of fact, it was exactly $30 for a complete new game system. And now I'm going to show you what his game system looked like, and then I'm going to, through a set of video series, show you exactly every detail of me repairing and reviving this mutilated, destroyed game system. Okay, so for those of you who have been on my channel for a few years, you're going to notice that there's commercials on it. Yeah, for the longest time I refused to allow commercials on my ads. Finally broke down and decided to give Google one last chance at doing the right thing, and allowed the paid advertising and YouTube profit share. So all the money that comes in from the advertising revenues will be used to buy brand spanking new game systems or parts or something like that, to give away on my channel absolutely free, or provide free and or extremely cheap repairs for other kids. And so by all means, if you see an advertisement that you like, visit it. It helps with the donations. Okay, so let's take a look at this box, and then I'm going to show you the first repair on this video of the circuit board of the drive, and we're going to work our way through that entire box and basically resurrect it. Okay, so let's take a look at how bad this kid really did do when it came to following a YouTube video on how to repair a drive of his box, turning it into a utter nightmare for me. Alright, so let's take a look. Okay, I'd like to stress the fact that this is not a how-to repair video, although I will be showing you the repairs. This is exactly how I received the game system. Okay? It's obvious he has some roach problems. A lot of people do. That's why I always allow my customers to open and clean their game systems under my warranty without voiding it. I don't recommend people actually trying to repair it themselves. For the most part, they wind up causing their repair after bringing it to me to be more. Because, like I said, just because it says open tray does not mean it's automatically the laser. There's anything that goes wrong in that drive can be that. Just because it gets a red dot does not mean it is a reflow. Okay? Just because it's freezing does not mean it needs a reflow. Everybody comes up with these things. Oh, if it's got error code so and so, it's this or that. That's a total flat out lie. Alright, error codes for the most part are useless, and I'm going to be posting up a video concerning error codes and the lies that every single one of these game system repair places have been telling all of you guys regarding the error codes. And I'm going to blow their stupidity completely out of the water. Okay, take a look at this. He destroyed the laser, broke pretty much everything in the drive. You can see the roach poo and stuff, which is most likely why it started sticking. You know, a simple clean out would have taken care of that. He damaged the fan to the heat sink, broke off a couple of blades. He got frustrated apparently and just threw it, stomped on it, whatever. I noticed earlier, later on after I made this video, yeah, he broke that Wi-Fi adapter there as well. Like I was saying, I noticed later that that 4 gig chip, that little square thing right here, and I'll put an arrow to show you, he actually broke the connection off of that so that it wasn't even working, among other things. That number inside M927 was the reference number to the box. So yeah, this box was just totally destroyed. Everything in it's broken, and we're going to put this thing back together. Okay. Unfortunately, the cost of all the parts and everything to repair this for him far exceeded the cost of actually buying a new game system. So, like I told you earlier, we got him a new game system so that he can get up in gaming right away, and I've decided to show everybody me actually repairing this game system start to finish. So let's bear with me and I'll put it up. We're going to start with the repair of the circuit board here in a moment to the disk drive. This is the disk drive circuit board to that box, M927. Okay, on inspection of the circuit board, I found that he ripped the SATA cable off. SATA, for those of you who don't like it being called a SATA, or you want to pronounce it SATA, I don't really care. Anyway, that needs to be repaired in order for this motherboard to work in any game system. So I'm going to show you what he did to it, and then I'm going to show you me actually repair this port. Okay, look at that, just ripped it right out of there. Okay, so we're going to replace that port. And then later on we're going to go through other sections of the box, one video at a time, and repair different sections until this entire game system is back up and running and finds its new home in the hands of possibly a foster family, or maybe I might give it away on the YouTube channel, I don't know. But any donations of parts, I don't sell anything, so any donations of parts are used to make kids' repairs nice and cheap. Any cash donations also help to buy parts and or use it for the postage on my free giveaways in order to get the game systems out to the winners absolutely free, so they don't have to pay a penny. Everything I do on this channel is charity work. I would actually like to raise probably close to about $5 grand for next year's Caring for Kids foster parent meeting, where they have giveaways for the foster kids and stuff like that. So if you can afford a few bucks here and there, by all means, go to my YouTube channel. If you gift it to me, I don't have it. I get more of the money instead of paying a transaction fee, as opposed to you just clicking the donation link, which actually causes a transaction fee. You could also mail it directly to me. If you can't find any information, email me. I'll give you all the information you want. Or if you just call me, it works too. I'm more than happy to talk to anybody about the game systems. If you're local, please bring your game system in for a repair. Don't try and do it yourself unless you actually have some experience in repairing electronics. For the vast population of the U.S. anyway, very few people actually have the patience to do anything like this. So on this video right here, you see me warm up the circuit board with a hot air soldering iron. That's proper use for that particular item. This is a desoldering iron, which is what you should be using to remove components of this nature. There are ways of doing it with solder wick and stuff, but this is the absolute best way to do it. Okay, preheat the board a little bit so that you don't have to have your soldering iron maxed out, melted and everything. I'm going to zoom in on this a little bit so we can take a peek. Alright. Here in a moment you'll be able to actually see. Now, although I am recording this in HD, this camera is not the greatest in the world, and when you're zooming in from a camera that's off a little bit of a distance, we do lose a little bit of video quality, so bear with me. I would actually like to purchase a much better camera system for recording this kind of stuff for you guys, so that you can actually see some proper repair methods and whatnot for the game systems, especially for the idiots learning off of YouTube to repair game systems. At least they'll be able to offer some decent repairs. So with me deciding to monetize the channel, I'll post more actual repairs. I'm going to be posting repairs of laptops, PCs, all kind of good stuff for everybody as time goes along. And the more money I can bring in for this channel, the more of these videos I will put out. Okay, so let me see what we're doing here. Sometimes these solder connections tend to be a little stubborn. I'm going to assist the removal of the component by using an actual soldering iron to push down the larger of the pins that lock that in place, and then go ahead and clean up the last bits of solder here. Then we'll have that pulled out and we can take a nice close-up look at what's going on. So bear with me, I know this is boring, but it's best if you see everything start to finish without editing it, especially for those that are learning off of the YouTube videos. Because then they'll actually see some of the troubles that you wind up with. There's no such thing as a perfect easy, it works exactly this type of way, removal of a component or replacement of a component. You always run into problems. It's called Murphy's Law. If anything that can go wrong it will. I'm sorry, I think I said that wrong. If anything can go wrong, it will. That's Murphy's Law. Okay. See that one wire still stuck into the board. I'm going to tap that. There we go. Just come right out. Okay, so give me a moment while I inspect it, and then we'll get a much closer view of what's going on. Okay, here's what it looks like after the component's been removed. You can see all the way through all of the holes. Solder's been removed. Okay, the board's not all burned up, not all scratched up. Okay, you'd be surprised what I find in these things. Especially from people who just flat out cannot solder. I'll talk you through a little bit of what you need to do when you're soldering things right here on this video. Okay, first of all, you always want to preheat a board whenever you're going to solder it. That way your soldering iron doesn't have to be too hot. If your soldering iron is too hot, you're going to damage the solder itself. Okay, you definitely want to use flux. You want to be able to have the soldering iron as low as possible to just barely hit the melting point of the solder itself, so that it stays as clean and fresh as possible. If your soldering iron's too hot, it's going to crystallize the solder before you even get it to attach. Okay, so when soldering, it shouldn't take more than a second per each one if you're doing it properly. Okay, so I think here I already put on the new piece, just slid it through the holes. I was cleaning up the solder points a little bit, and now we're going to warm up the board a little bit If you try to do this yourself at home, you're not getting this thing baking hot. All right, just warming it up. If it's too hot to touch, then you've heated it up way too much. Okay, that heat in that board will last quite a while for you to work with. And apparently I'm still needing to clean up a little bit of leftover solder on one of the holes that's not quite allowing everything to go in. So bear with me for a moment. Oh, you know, I just realized that was me taking that was me taking off the replacement component. Now I realize what I was talking about. I apologize for that. I was thinking that I was putting it on. This is me removing the other component so that off of another board that was destroyed by somebody else, so that I could put the new good component that's not broken on the old circuit board. Okay, so that's what I was actually doing. And we'll get a close-up view of me actually installing that component here in just a minute, as soon as we get the old component off of the bad board so that we can put it on the good board. And again, you got to keep the circuit board fairly warm so that you do not have to have your soldering iron overly hot. It makes for a much better connection. It allows you to get the solder on without crystallizing it. It allows you to remove the solder without baking off your contact points. There's copper beneath there that the solder connects to. If your soldering iron is too hot, it can literally lift that copper off of the circuit board itself, and then your circuit board is totally no longer repairable. So you definitely want to make sure your soldering iron is not too hot. So it's better to have to work a little bit at it than to have your soldering iron way too hot, burn off the circuit traces, and or melt your plastic component part in the removal or installation. So this won't take too long. Just need to clean a few things up. We're almost there. What I'm doing is just assisting the part in coming out. You don't want to damage the legs to the component. And I apologize for getting that a little off the screen. There we go. We're going to release the left leg holder tab, and then we're going to release the center tabs for the actual connections, and there we go. Okay, do a little inspection, and we'll let you take a close-up look at that. Get rid of that old board. It was useless anyway. Alright, so let's take a nice close look at what this looks like when it's properly removed. No melted plastic, all the legs nice and clean. Okay, so now let's get that on the new board. That's the way it should look when it's done. Right on there, just like that. Okay. Working with these little tiny components and having fat fingers, you always usually wind up needing assistance from tweezers and other things. So you'll see me get this soldered in place and then use tweezers to assist in properly seating that component onto the board. So let's get the flux onto the solder pads. This is an absolute must. You can't do without it. Even if you got rosin core flux solder, I highly recommend you use a flux paste anyway. It just really does help. You just simply clean it up with a little bit of isopropyl alcohol and you're good to go. Okay. And you notice it's taking a little bit of time for the heat of the soldering iron to actually heat up the solder to the melting point. The soldering iron is not too hot. You got to keep your tips of your soldering iron clean and free of the black stuff that forms on it. It greatly increases the heat transfer and prevents contamination of the solder itself. There we go. And we'll work on the next side. See how much easier that came out on the second one after it had already been cleaned. And we'll work on each individual leg of the SATA port. Just heat it up long enough to reach the melting point of the solder, and then solder each leg in. You always want to heat the component leg and the circuit board pad with the soldering iron, and then apply the solder to the pad and leg, not the soldering iron. This allows for a nice, clean, professional job. You always want to keep isopropyl alcohol and Q-tips on hand so that you can clean up the old solder. Don't be a nasty fool and leave that garbage on there. It does become corrosive over time. Okay, so we're going to take a close-up look on this, and if I remember right, because I am narrating this after the fact, the SATA port was slightly down after I finished soldering, so I used a set of tweezers to help seat the SATA port properly on the circuit board. You always want to keep your stuff nice and clean and neat. Okay. Sorry about the autofocus there. Okay, so now see how clean that looks? Alright, now you see how the SATA port's kind of hanging down a little bit on the right side. We need to correct that. So, and this is common. I mean, it'll happen to the best of us. You just got to know how to correct it without damaging it. In this case, take a pair of tweezers, put some pinching power in between the component and the board, and then apply flux so that you're not damaging the solder, and then lightly tap each of the legs in order to seat the component all the way to the board. Change the position a little bit. Okay, now you see how I lift the soldering iron off of that? You want to lift it off, you want to drag the soldering iron off of it while it's making contact with the leg, all the way up to the end of the leg. That leaves a nice, beautiful, clean solder joint that makes contact with the absolute majority of the leg itself. So let's take a look. That's perfectly placed on the board. There we go. And let's take a look at the solder work. You can't even tell it ever was replaced. It looks like factory. The solder points are all nice and clean and shiny. The components not burned up, melted or anything. So there we go for that. Stay tuned next week or in the following days for me to start the next section of the repair. And by all means, subscribe, visit my website, make a donation. All donations go to either buying parts to make kids' repairs cheaper for them, make their repairs possibly even free, and also go to caring for kids as far as game system repairs, or possibly getting a game system in the hands of a foster parent to use so that the kids have something nice to play with from time to time. Obviously age appropriate. Alright, so the more money we can raise, the cheaper my repairs can get, the more game systems we can give away for free on this channel, the more parts we can get to put these up, and the more videos concerning repairs I will actually make for everybody to watch and learn from. Okay? Stay safe, happy gaming everybody.